Hello, NBA fans. Daily news about the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm a fan of the Lakers show and I hope you'll subscribe to the channel and give it a like. The Lakers signed a great center in DeAndre Ayton, but they still need another center with effective defensive characteristics, and a player who could help the Lakers a lot is Nick Claxton, if a trade between the Lakers and Brooklyn Nets comes to fruition. The Los Angeles Lakers thought acquiring Luka Doncic at the trade deadline would be a move LeBron James fully supported. However, James reportedly feels the move has disrupted his timeline, and worse, it may have caused tension between him and the organization. At this stage in his career, he's focused on adding championships, not wasting seasons. LeBron wants to compete for a championship, Rich Paul told ESPN. He knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but he values a realistic chance of winning it all. We are very appreciative of the partnership that we've had for 8 years with Jeanie, Buss, and Rob Pelinka, and consider the Lakers as a critical part of his career. Top 5 plays of the day. Interestingly, Doncic shares a similar mindset. Though the 26-year-old extends the Lakers' championship window, he doesn't want to wait around to start winning. Doncic being just 26 gives the Lakers a far longer timeline to build a championship-contending team, but that doesn't mean they can slow down and take their time. Doncic told Lakers president Rob Pelinka and coach J.J. Redick in May that he's not interested in taking the slow approach in building a contender. A proposed trade scenario could help satisfy both Doncic and James, though it comes at a price, Austin Reeves. In this situation, the Lakers get to shed 2 bench/deeper pieces as they command less need with LeBron, Luka. Gabe Vincent and Austin Reeves have been common names being discussed in trades, so it surprises none in this scenario. As for adding Claxton, they get a key young frontcourt player at a potential discount, since the Nets want to deal him away. Nick Claxton can be a massive defensive weapon off the bench, as well as a great developmental piece underneath Rui Hachimura, DeAndre Ayton. On top of all of this, the Lakers get future draft picks that they will need once LeBron retires. Lakers' title hopes hinge on DeAndre Ayton doing something fans have never seen. The Los Angeles Lakers need to see the version of DeAndre Ayton that demanded the first overall selection in the 2018 NBA draft. DeAndre Ayton entered the NBA with a lot of expectations on his shoulders. The Los Angeles Lakers center received elite draft comparisons like that of David Robinson, DeMarcus Cousins, Joel Embiid, and others. 7 seasons later, that potential has never been tapped. That will need to change. The 2018 NBA draft class was loaded with future stars like Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Brunson, Trae Young, Jaren Jackson Jr. and others. Still, it was Ayton's stage on draft night, with his name being the first one called. Since then, the players who came after him have continued to pass him by. Ayton arrived in Los Angeles at a crossroads in his career. The Portland Trail Blazers, much like the Phoenix Suns, decided the talent was not worth the headaches. At 27 years old, Ayton has not missed the opportunity on reclaiming his career just yet. The Lakers center even hinted at fact in his introductory press conference in Los Angeles. If the Lakers want to believe in their upside as a contender, they will need Ayton to unlock his career year will save DeAndre Ayton and Lakers in 2025-26. At this stage, no one will be expecting Ayton to suddenly emerge as the best player from his draft class. Surpassing the elite names at the top of that list is simply not doable for the Lakers' big man. However, what should be doable is outperforming what has been on display thus far. Ayton has been a solid pro, but far from anything truly resembling that of a star. The opportunity to teeter on that status has never been more gift-wrapped for the former Arizona Wildcat. Kevin O'Connor was certainly under the impression Ayton needed to thrive in Los Angeles. The NBA analyst spoke about the subject on a recent episode of his podcast for Yahoo Sports. O'Connor said, "The biggest swing piece on the Lakers is DeAndre Ayton. It's a big prove-it year from him. They need Ayton to be his prime self for this team to really be truly in contending status." The show host pointed out how much better of a defender Ayton was with the Phoenix Suns, which O'Connor considered his prime years. The great finishing ability was also highlighted from those days. For the latter, there should be little to no concern. Chris Paul helped guide the way for Ayton in Phoenix. Doncic can do the same for him in Los Angeles. Defensively is where the focus falls. The raw tools are there for Ayton to be what the Lakers need down low on that end. The mindset needs to come with. There was truly no better situation out there for Ayton to completely revive his career than with the Lakers. For the sake of both sides, there will be a ton of mutual interest in making that happen during the 2025-26 NBA season. Dalton Knecht will never get his wish on the Lakers. It might be hard for Knecht to find consistent minutes. With the way things have unfolded over the course of the last year, it's looking unlikely that Dalton Knecht will ultimately get the kind of larger role on this Los Angeles Lakers team he likely wants. The reason for that is multifaceted. It's about how Knecht's rookie year played out, but it also goes deeper than that. The Lakers are a team on a different timeline and headed in a different trajectory than they were at this time a year ago. We know that Knecht's rookie season was a bit of a strange one. Toward the start of the year, he was looking like the favorite to take home the Rookie of the Year award with his spectacular play. All that pre-draft talk about him being too old as a first-year player was out the window, and he was proving the haters dead wrong. And yet, Dalton hit the same kind of rookie wall that a lot of players do. His consistency suffered as the year went on, so much so that J.J. Redick nearly removed him from the rotation toward the end of the regular season, and barely played him in the postseason. Knecht might not have the kind of consistent role he'd probably want. It was Knecht's up-and-down play that already had fans wondering midway through last season how sustainable his high level of play would be long-term. But then came the Luka Doncic trade, and everything changed. With number 77 arriving in town, this Lakers team was put on a completely different path than the one they were going down before. Previously clinging to the foundational pieces that took them to an NBA Finals almost 5 years prior, LA finally dumped Anthony Davis and somehow came out of things with a top 5 player in the association. What that did was turn the Lakers from a team who would be delusional to think they had a real shot at a championship to a squad that could legitimately get there with the right pieces around Doncic. Unfortunately, that also meant that since the day Luka arrived in town, there has been less margin for error and less time to let younger players develop. The Lakers became a team that all of a sudden needed proven veteran talent over anything else. Sure, young players with upside were still cool, but they were no longer a luxury the team could afford to focus on. National Reporter predicts DeAndre Ayton reaches level on Lakers others haven't seen. Zach Lowe was high on the idea of DeAndre Ayton and the Los Angeles Lakers being a happy union for both sides. If there is one firm believer for DeAndre Ayton ahead of his 2025-26 campaign with the Los Angeles Lakers, it is Zach Lowe. The National Reporter and host of the Zach Lowe Show confidently delivered a statement about how he thought the Ayton experiment would go in Los Angeles. Lowe said, "I think Ayton's gonna work with the Lakers. That does not mean I think Ayton's gonna be dominating, he's gonna be an all-star, he's gonna average 20 and 10. I just think he's going to be a solid citizen. If he's not all in now, I don't know when he will be." The show host continued, stating that Ayton will be a solid teammate and buy into what they need him to do. That involved screening, rolling, and playing top-tier defense. Lowe thought Ayton could walk into 16 points and 8 rebounds every game in his new environment. There was little doubt for the analyst the gamble would work for the Lakers. Lakers cannot afford for DeAndre Ayton gamble to go bust. Ayton was a calculated risk for a team whose group of centers were dreadful in 2024-25. The elephant in the room with this upgrade is that if the new Lakers big man does not pan out, they are stuck turning to a lot of those same names. Jackson Hayes would be the presumed backup at this point in time. Hayes has enjoyed some stretches of competency, but has been lackluster overall for the Lakers during his time in Los Angeles. Who do the Lakers turn to past that? Maxi Kleber is well beyond his best days as a quality role player in the NBA. Perhaps, sparingly, Kleber can still find opportunities to be a positive off the bench. However, that is not something the Lakers should be reliant upon. The man who could quietly creep into the mix is Christian Koloko. The former Toronto Raptors draft pick has a skill set that leans more towards the defensive end with upside as a play finisher and rim runner. Similarly to Kleber, though, the Lakers should not rely on that. It would be a pleasant discovery to find out Koloko is playable for regular minutes off the bench, but it is far from a sure thing. The Lakers are stuck in a spot where Ayton needs to both play well and eat up the lion's share of minutes at the center spot. For the sake of the team's title hopes, everyone with rooting interest will hope Lowe was on the money with his assessment. Lakers Luka Doncic not quite Hall of Fame lock yet, insider says. ESPN NBA writer Zach Kram believes Los Angeles Lakers superstar point guard Luka Doncic isn't quite guaranteed a spot in the Hall of Fame as of yet. Doncic has had a fantastic career at just 26 years old, already making 5 All-Star games and All-NBA first teams, as well as receiving the Rookie of the Year award in 2018-19. His surprising move to Los Angeles didn't just shake the basketball world, but the sports world as a whole, and propelled the Lakers directly into championship contention talks. Despite all this, though, Crum believes it's still too early to tell. Still in their mid-20s, Doncic and Tatum might already be locks, wrote Cram. The former has 5 first-team All-NBA selections, while the latter has 4, plus a third-team nod. Yet for now, they're arguably just short of, say, Gilgeous-Alexander because of one hiccup apiece. For Doncic, it's the lack of a title. For Tatum, it's the uncertainty around his right Achilles injury and whether he'll return at an All-NBA level. Basketball Reference Hall of Fame probability tool pegs Doncic's and Tatum's odds, if they retired today, at 45% and 59%, respectively. Those numbers will surely tick up over the coming years, but Doncic and Tatum aren't quite locks yet. If a title is what he is missing to make it to the Hall of Fame, Doncic may have the best chance of his career so far to make the leap in 2025-26. The Lakers have made several additions since the beginning of the offseason, addressing their needs for depth in the forward positions and, most notably, the need for a starting caliber center. In his 28 games as a Laker in 2024-25, Doncic averaged 28.2 points, 8.1 rebounds, and 7.5 assists, adding to an electric offense which already includes the NBA's all-time top scorer in LeBron James. The Lakers entered last season's playoffs as the 3rd seed, however suffered a crushing round 1 loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves. A full season of Doncic and a gelled team come the playoffs will certainly pose a threat towards the league's best, even in an increasingly competitive Western Conference. Doncic is in the best shape of his career. It was impossible to miss Luka Doncic's revenge tour over the past few weeks prior to his joining the Slovenia national team in Europe to prepare for this year's Eurobasket tournament. The usually media-shy Doncic was appearing at sporting events, doing interviews on Good Morning America, and was even the cover model for an issue of Men's Health. Our digital cover star, Luka Doncic, ready to take his game, and the Lakers, to new levels of dominance. And this summer shred has been years in the making. This is no camera trick either. He is slimmed down in a way that he never was with the Mavericks. He spent the summer training in Croatia and sticking to a calculated diet, and told Men's Health that his whole body looks better after putting in the work. The external evidence agrees. It's not obvious that a slimmer Doncic is a better basketball player. He likely will have more mobility on defense and be able to defend smaller players. More important will be his health. He missed significant time last season with a calf injury, one he has struggled with in the past. Less weight on his legs could yield dramatic results in terms of his long-term and in-season health. There has been chatter that Doncic was always planning to take his conditioning seriously this summer, but that is a blatant attempt not to give Harrison and the Mavericks any credit. This was a targeted response, in part a middle finger to Nico, in part a recognition on Luka's part that he did need to make a change. If a lack of conditioning could lead to a team trading him away once, it could happen again. The Lakers are all in on building around their new star, any quadragenarian on the roster aside. And Luka Doncic responded by taking seriously his conditioning. DeAndre Ayton is not a rim-running center. In 2023-24, Derek Lively shot 74.7% from the field, in large part because he took nearly all of his shots right at the rim. Of his 221 made field goals that season, 141 of them were dunks. Over half of his field goal attempts he threw down into the net. Overall, 57.1% of his shots came within 3 feet of the rim. Daniel Gafford, the second member of that two-headed center monster, shot 78% from the field once joining the Mavericks in 2023-24. 46.2% of his overall field goal attempts were dunks, and 72% of his field goal attempts overall. Both players thrived using their gravity to roll down the paint and catch passes from Doncic. 96% of Gafford's non-putback two-point attempts were assisted per PBPstats.com. Essentially, if he wasn't grabbing an offensive rebound and putting it back up, he was shooting off of a pass, and his most frequent assister was, of course, Luka Doncic. For Lively, 98% of his non-putback twos were assisted. They fit into the system perfectly and thrived within it. The story for DeAndre Ayton is entirely different. Over his last 2 seasons, Ayton has shot a perfectly fine 56.9% from the field. He is a more skilled offensive big than either Lively or Gafford, with a deeper bag of flip shots, floaters, short jumpers, and even mid-range shots. He can certainly do more with the ball, but that's not exactly a strength when paired with Luka Doncic. Just 13.6% of Ayton's shots the last 2 seasons were dunks, and 34.4% of his shots came within 0 to 3 feet. Even when he had the ball at the rim, he was more likely to make a finesse move than go up with power. That's why he had a free throw rate of just 11.4%, a truly abysmal number for a player of his size and usage. Ayton still needs to be fed to set up his shots. He isn't creating them himself. He just doesn't put himself in a position for those to be high-possession shots, nor does he operate with much gravity. 90% of his two-point non-putbacks were assisted, putting him in the gray zone of not creating his own shots but not excelling as a finisher. Perhaps the problem is that Ayton didn't have an elite setup man in Portland? That's a reasonable approach, but the numbers don't get much better. Just 31.3% of his shot attempts were within 0 to 3 feet in 2022-23, his last season in Phoenix with Chris Paul. His actually field goal percentage was better, speaking to Paul's ability to elevate his teammates, but Ayton wasn't an appreciably different player. Luka Doncic loves to operate in the mid-range, able to unleash a step back to move back into a three-pointer or burrow into the defense and open up a pass to a teammate. He loved working with rim-running centers in Dallas. Could the Lakers force Ayton to play a similar role? Perhaps, but it would be pushing Ayton out of his comfort zone. He is not the sort of player to embrace a low-touch role and trust a teammate to feed him. Luka Doncic had one thing at the top of his wish list. The Lakers failed to deliver. And while Doncic is locked up for years to come, it doesn't bode well for this team leveling up enough to contend in the Western Conference.